This meeting video recorded and will be publicly available on EMCC's YouTube channel. First of all, I'd like to invite our treasurer, Ann Thorne, to come up to announce about our ongoing fundraising auction. Ann?
Yep. Okay, so I think many of you probably know, but we started an online auction, and it started November 1st, and it's going to end on November 30th. And it is the community council's way of raising money. Right now, we don't have any other income, and these gift certificates and things that were donated from island businesses were given to the council back in 2024. So there's been certainly lots of things bid on, but if you want to promote or contribute to the council, it'd be great if you went on and look to see if there was something of interest to you. There is a poster at the back that has the QR code. It was also in the Beachcomber I noticed today, and I guess I don't know if the links on our website, you know? Yeah, thanks to Debbie. Yeah. So anyway, thank you all for your contributions.
Thank you, Ann, and for all of those who have set this up and publicized it. Greatly appreciate it. As of this meeting, yes? Okay, is this working now? Okay, we need one microphone for the room and one for Zoom. And so in the course of the meeting, we may ask you, if you're saying something from the audience, from the council, to speak into one of these Zoom microphones. Debbie Jackson has one that she'll walk around and provide you with. As I was saying, we're introducing a new brief section called What's on My Mind. That's just sort of an open floor for check-ins or saying what you've been thinking about of relevance to the council before we get underway. And also this gives a little time for latecomers to show up to increase the chances we'll meet our quorum. But would anyone like to be the first person to speak what's on your mind tonight? Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I only asked, it's not Matt's microphone.
That only goes to Zoom.
Hello. Okay, my name is Jackie O'Malley, and this is my first time here, and I'd really like to know who's who, like your name, people's names, the officers, just so I know who is talking and, you know, what you're up to.
That's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you, Jackie. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here tonight, and thank you for coming too.
So what's your name?
My name is J.C. Graham. I'm President J.C. Graham, and I'll hand this Zoom mic around to our board members to introduce themselves.
Sure. Okay. So I'm Ann Thorne. I am the treasurer. And I'm going to hand it to Jen.
I'm Jen Rakovic. I'm the secretary.
Hi, I'm Doug Ostrom. I'm also a member of the board, but have no other position.
Thank you. We've also got a corresponding secretary, Jessica Anakar, who may be on Zoom. I'm not sure. And also Nicole Anya is working tech, and she's also our vice president. Thank you, Nicole. Yes, part of our business tonight is that Meg Thompson will be presented to you for possible election tonight as our newest board member. Our board has already unanimously elected her, but tonight we'll ask the council to confirm that. But unfortunately, she's not able to be here tonight with us because of a medical emergency today. She's going to be okay, but she can't be with us tonight. Okay, anyone else want to do the what's on my mind tonight? Steve? Steve Bergman.
I'm Steve Bergman, and I'd just like to thank everyone that participated in our reuse workshop that we had at the Land Trust about 2 weeks ago. We had about 20 people show up. And if anybody is interested in participating in a new reuse facility for the island for building materials, it's sort of a grandpa's shed equivalent of Granny's attic. We welcome your interest and participation. We need ideas and help in getting it off the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have other takers on sharing what's on your mind? Lynn?
Hi, I'm Lynn Kerrigan. Nice to see you all here. I'm just thinking I'm going to mention now that we have had some discussions about the Thunderbird facility that is going up on the main highway. And JD and I have been talking a little bit about how nice it would be to have a liaison relationship with them so that we could begin to learn more and welcome them to the island and begin to understand more about how that operation is going to work in coordination and collaboration with us. Tomorrow night from 6 to 8, there is a Vashon Center for the Arts program on Native music, which is being sponsored by the Seattle Indian Health Board. It's a fundraiser. I think it's $40 to get in at the door, and then there's entertainment with Native music and probably crafts for sale. I don't know, but I think it's a great opportunity. I'm going to go and just see who I can meet and get to know there. And if anybody is interested in showing up, I think we just need to start building relationships. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a few minutes left. Any other what's on my mind? Very well. Well, that's a good start, I think. Thank you for those who spoke and those who listened. At this point, I'll call the meeting to order. If this isn't too loud, give them the mic. The meeting will come to order. At this point, we'll determine the quorum. We need 25 voting members. You'll know you're a voting member if you signed up, and Debbie Jackson sent you an email welcoming you to the membership of the council. We go by the honor system here. So if you're a voting member, vote, and if you're not, please refrain from voting. As I say, the quorum will need 25 members. That includes board members who are here and other voting members. And our secretary, Jen Rakovic, will help me to determine if we have a quorum or not. So this has two parts. The people in the room, I'm going to ask you if you're a voting member to raise your hand. And then the people on Zoom, can we see the list of people on Zoom, Nicole, please? The people on Zoom use the reaction button to raise your hand if you're a voting member. Got it? Okay, everybody who's a voting member, please raise your hand. And we need to be sure to count ourselves too, Jen. How many? I got 19 in the room.
Are any of the people on the phone, is everybody one key to log in, or does anybody have two?
Please keep your hands up. We had different counts. We count Nicole too. I got 20. Yes, 19.
Is there anybody on Zoom who is?
Oh, thanks. So for those of you who are on Zoom, is there anyone who has not raised their hand who is a member? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So that
We got
6
6
plus
plus
3.
19 is 25. So 6.9 plus 19 is 25. So we just made the quorum. Yay! Since we didn't make our quorum in September, I've been stressing how important it is to have a core group of 25 or 30 members who will commit to showing up every time if it's possible, just so we won't have to stress out about this every month and we can be confident of conducting our important business and being a good community council. Original. So if you even just in your heart of hearts can commit to making it rain or shine, as long as it's possible for you to be part of that core group that's really the foundation of our local democracy, we'll all really appreciate that. Okay, we got one more. We're like we're 26 now. Another thing is that I've learned that the state law for nonprofits was amended not long ago so that once a quorum is established, you're good for the rest of the meeting, regardless of if people leave or not. So if you can't come at the beginning for sure. Our Secretary General will be taking the minutes tonight. I'd like to provide a brief technical overview. This pertains in part to both the Zoom and in-person meeting attendees. If you're participating remotely, sign on with your phone or the computer, but not both. That will eliminate some confusion. If you're on Zoom, please stay muted unless you're speaking. If you've signed on with anything other than your first and last name, please change it on Zoom so we know who you are. For Zoom attendees also, please be advised that questions on chat may not be answered. Question, shush. Please keep reminding me if I forget this. It's all too easy to put it down. On Zoom, please be advised that questions on chat may not be answered because we don't have a dedicated person monitoring the chat. Incidentally, if that's a role that appeals to you, please contact us. If someone wishes to take on the task of speaking for the person chatting, they are welcome to do that. We go by the Democratic Rules of Order, which is a bit simpler than the Roberts Rules of Order. It can be found on this website that's in the agenda. It's https www.democraticrules.com/ and a flow chart and downloadable summary of the rules can be found in the right margin. If you're present in the room, we have some copies on the back table that you can borrow for the course of the meeting. Or even we have enough you can take it home if you want to study it to be a very diligent council member. Please raise your hand to speak to a motion or participate in open discussion, and lower your hand after you've been recognized or no longer wish to speak. The first time you're recognized to speak, please identify yourself by name. Thank you. And we'll now have a reading of land acknowledgement by a council volunteer. In this case, my spouse, Jill Graham. That would be nice.
Acknowledging those Salem people, the land we occupy today is their ancestral land. For thousands of years, they lived on it, stewarding its resources with care and wisdom. Today,
is she using the microphone?
And their elders, past, present, and emerging. And recognize that this land is a vital part of their cultural sovereignty.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Front row here is in charge of that. I'll briefly cover some rules of conduct. The council's committed to conducting its meeting. Let me start. The council is committed to conducting its meetings in a civil, respectful, and courteous manner. We expect all participants to demonstrate common courtesy and respect toward fellow islanders and guests. As we build our new council, we are dedicated to creating a safe and healing space to address our shared interests. Rudeness, personal criticism, and ridicule, including online chat contributions, are not acceptable and will not be tolerated. Please keep your remarks focused on the issues, not on individuals. We're here because we're stronger together. And as is our custom, please raise your hands to demonstrate your intent to honor the rules of conduct. Thank you, everyone. The first order of business is we'll finalize the minutes of the previous council meeting, October 16th, 2025. These were sent out with the minutes, so you will, with the agenda, so you will have had a chance to review them. Nicole is also displaying them on the screen. Is there a motion to adopt these minutes? It's been moved by Ann Thorne. Is there a second to adopt the minutes? Jill seconded. Is there discussion?
I would like to make a suggestion. When I
point out, as Nicole scrolled through it, that an innovation that is to Jen's credit is at the end of the minutes, we now have a running list of action items and their status that council members and others can refer to. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote.
I would like to discuss something.
Approving the minutes as written of
I have my hand raised and I would like to discuss something. Excuse me? I have my hand raised. Can you hear me?
I can't see on Zoom. Yeah, on Zoom, please raise your hands if you're voting for. Okay, you may lower your hands. All those opposed to adopting these minutes? On Zoom? Oh. So 14 in favor, none opposed. The minutes are adopted as written. Next, we'll finalize the agenda for this council meeting, November 20th, 2025.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
I just want to stress that this is actually a critical piece of business for local democracy like ours, because the council is the ultimate authority, and we're striving for an active council, whereas the board is administrative and strategic, but it's really the council that's in charge. So the council needs to have the ultimate authority over the agenda. And I'm contrite to say a few meetings ago, I just blithely skipped over this step, and that's horrible. So you all need to really make sure that we're on track with taking the step of approving the agenda each meeting, because that's a chance for the council to say, no, there's something important we need to talk about that the board hasn't put on the agenda. I hope that's understood. Is there a motion to finalize the agenda of this council meeting, which also was sent out to you? Steve Bergman has moved it, and is there a second?
Point of order. Point of order.
Oh, the speaker's not working. I'm sorry, Diane, we cannot hear you because of technical difficulties. If you put what you wanted to say into chat, then Nicole can read it.
Can you hear anyone who's over Zoom?
Do we need to power this on, Nicole?
Can someone speak now?
Is Emily good?
Yeah, she's
Hello?
trying to speak.
Can you hear people over Zoom?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Thank goodness.
Oh, good. I actually don't have any comment, but Ginny Lore was trying to make a comment for several minutes there. And as the motion was being passed, she said, I would like to discuss something. So I think maybe the motion should be rescinded and Ginny should be offered an opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you. I don't need the motion to be rescinded. I want
Motion is
to,
that, Jimmy?
can you hear me?
Yes, you're talking about the motion to accept the minutes?
No, well, I'm talking about the minutes. I don't think we need to change the vote. This is really for future minutes for
Yeah.
discussion. If some of the links in the minutes go to a Google account, if you do not have a Google email address, you cannot access them. So I'd like to ask you to consider a way to make the information available, perhaps a link to a PDF. Your information that you had in the newsletter that wasn't part of the minutes, that link worked and I could read it. So I just wanted to bring that up to be more inclusive. It shouldn't be restricted to Google Docs. Thank you.
Absolutely, Jenny. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. We will take care of that. As I recall, we're in the midst of considering whether to accept the agenda for tonight. Is there further discussion? Very well. All those in favor of accepting the agenda, please raise your hand, either in person or on Zoom. Eight, 18, and those opposed? I see none in the room. Are there any on Zoom? Very well, 18-0, the motion to accept the agenda for tonight passes. Thank you. A few notes on the rules of procedure. As I was saying before, only members can vote. If you've recently joined, you'll know your membership has been processed if you've received a welcome email from Debbie Jackson. Please raise your hands to demonstrate that you understand good faith voting, which is to say you only vote if you're a member. Thank you. At the appropriate time, that is under new business, motions can be made from the floor as time allows, and every motion, if it has a second, will then either be considered and decided at that meeting if it's procedural, or if it's substantive, it'll be put on the agenda for decision at the next regular council meeting. Amendments under the Democratic Rules of Order are handled in the same way as motions. There are no like change of amendments to amendments to amendments or anything like that, so it's less confusing. Another important matter is the points of order. At any time, anyone can get the chair's attention, get my attention by rising to a point of order. And that's when you feel like something's not right with the procedure, like you think that we're not doing things by the Democratic Rules of Order or out of order on our agenda or something, or you simply think that there's not good order being kept in the council. You can rise to a point of order, and then as chair, I'll decide how to respond to it. But again, ultimately, it's the council that decides. And I may say, well, I think we should do this and so, but there's disagreement about that, in which case we'll have a vote. And again, the council is the ultimate authority on how to resolve the points of order because it's in charge of its own procedure. We'll move on to annual meeting business. And the first item is the approval of the proposed calendar year 2026 VMCC budget. And I'll recognize Treasurer Ann Thorne again to present this budget. Ann?
I do have well, because then I can't see. Well, maybe I can see it. No, I cannot see it. Here, I'll get my copy. Well, and does anybody else want a copy? I think, how about if I stand here? Can't you all hear me? Okay, I'm gonna do that. Okay, so okay, so our agenda, our budget has all our operational expenses listed. This is a very bare bones budget. As you probably all know, the council runs as lean as we possibly can. So all of the operational expenses that are listed there are what we incurred this year just to run the council, right? So it has Zoom and it has our insurance and MailChimp. That's what we use for email. Election Buddy is what we use if we have to have people vote via email as opposed to in the meeting. Nicole, can you scroll down? We've got a few office materials, supplies. We try not to, use those. A lot of people have been donating that when we do any printing. Strawberry Festival, we didn't do this year, but we're budgeting to do it next year because this year we just did not have the capacity to do it. And we've been getting donations, so that's not in the revenues. But if you, Nicole, keep scrolling down, you'll see, well, okay, so see that carryover balance. So what happened to the income from the auction? Because that carryover balance includes where we're ending this year in the bank accounts, plus I projected $1,100 that we would get from the auction. But what? No, it'd be before under the revenue. It'd be under revenue. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm not sure what's going on there. But I know it was in the notes that said that figure included the auction. But anyway, to summarize, don't need to drag this on and on. A budgeted $1,100 income from the auction. Our bank accounts are ending the year at about $2,500. That's how you get to that 3664 number. And then you see the expenses that were above. So right now we're at an ending balance, assuming we don't get any donations, of minus $96.38. So does anybody have any questions while I'm standing here? Yes. Well,
we welcome donations, but we haven't taken like a fundraising campaign this year. Our attention initially has been on this auction, but we will be doing that next year. We've also been working on getting the website and getting processing software set up so that people can give donations over the website.
Point of order.
Yeah.
We can't hear you and we can't hear the question.
Oh, because
the question from Mike was, is there a reason we haven't been asking for donations? And I was explaining briefly that we've been getting things set up so we can do that on the website with the payment processing system and the software. And also our attention has been on this auction that Ann was talking about earlier. Early next year, I expect to undertake more fundraising initiative. And
but the donations are all set up on the website now.
It's not at this point
so
set up.
So anybody can go on there.
Donations at this point. And also it's set up so you can make recurring monthly donations if you would like to do that, which is extremely helpful.
And you don't have to go through PayPal. We actually expanded it. So you don't have to go through PayPal. And so we do welcome donations.
Are there other questions or discussions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Oh, wait, where does this go?
Just hang on.
No, he's got one.
We have a redundancy. Mike Dawson, thank you. Were you making the motion or just reminding me? Okay. Is there a second to adopt the budget? Doug Ostrom seconded. Is there further discussion about the budget? Yes, Lynn?
I'm sorry, I'm a fairly new member, and so I'm puzzled. Has there never been a sort of a revenue fundraising committee process, or I mean, is this a brand new issue? I don't know what to say when there's no revenue and we're in the hole. So,
Well, I'm pretty new at this too, Lynn, but I can tell you a few things. Yes, Steve?
Yeah, perhaps Diane Emerson can speak to it because as former
Yes.
chair, she was involved with abundant fundraising over the years.
Yes, there has been fundraising before. There have been contributions by board members and also members of the community. Also, there have been various grants through the years. And also there was something for helping with the King County participation survey, I believe. The organization got some money from that. And yeah, Diane, if you want to say something, I'd certainly welcome that.
Sure, we have not had interest in forming in my time, my 5 years on the community council board. There was never enough interest to form a fundraising committee. So we did them ad hoc when opportunities arose. We took advantage of them, and the current silent auction is from a fundraising effort that was done in 2024 to reach out to the community, which was very, very easy to do to get those certificates, I must say. And we didn't sell them in 2024, but we are selling them now to raise funds.
Thank you, Diane.
I don't know what was
I'd
done in many, many years ago. Don't have no idea what was done then.
And you've been at the Strawberry Festival.
Thanks. There's Debbie. You're saying also there's been fundraising at the Strawberry
The
Festival?
Strawberry Festival, so with strawberry shortcake, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Strawberry Shortcake was a
I'd say
fundraising.
too that I think it would be a wonderful thing to have a fundraising committee and other committees too, like land use and planning committee, like a transportation committee, and we're hoping tonight to get some interest for a food security committee. And it all comes down to residents here who have the interest and energy to step up to make these things happen. To start a committee, we need at least a mission statement and an interim chair and secretary, and either the board can form a committee or the council itself can form a committee. It's really a question of the people who want to be on that committee. Is there further discussion on the budget? Is there any interest in speaking evident on Zoom, Nicole? Very well. It's been moved and seconded. We adopt this 2026 budget. All those in favor, please raise your hand. $18. All those opposed? None in the room. 0. Motion carries 18-0. Thank you all very much. And thank you, Anne, for preparing this. Oh, the next thing is election to the VMCC Board of Directors. Board candidate Meg Thompson. as I say, we had hoped Meg would be here tonight to introduce herself, but she had a medical emergency. Unfortunately, she's going to be okay, but not here tonight. Nicole, can you display the Meg's statement there? Meg is the director of the Vashon Repertory Youth Theater, which she started, and is very energetic and interested Islander. Jen, would you perhaps read that? I can't really see it very well.
Meg Thompson is Education Director at Vashon Repertory Theater and longtime youth arts educator. She lives on Vashon with her son Gotham and her German Shepherd Tila. Meg brings her enthusiasm for youth and arts to the council, as well as a special interest in the development of affordable housing for our community. She's lived on Vashon for a little over a year. Why does she want to serve? The current political climate has often made her feel overwhelmed and helpless, and this felt like a tangible way to get involved in her community and make a difference. What island issues are important to her? She says affordable housing, youth, and its culture are particular areas of interest for me. She also has event planning, social media, and other administrative skills that she's happy to contribute. She's the education director at Vashon Repertory Theater and longtime youth arts educator. She lives on Vashon with their son Gotham and German Shepherd Tila. I guess that's the summary.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to confirm the election of Ms. Thompson as a point of order? Discussion before after. Customarily, we would have a motion first and then a second and then discuss it. I'm asking from Debbie. Debbie Jackson, can you accept this, Mike? Mike, second. Now we're open. The floor is open. Oh, you're going to tell me what the mic. The floor is open for discussion here on Zoom. Kevin?
My recollection of the bylaws is that we ask each person who wants to be a board member what sector they plan to liaise with. Has Meg been asked, and has she answered that question?
Yes, the one on culture. Thank you, Kevin. Is there other discussion and question? I've met with Meg several times, spoken with her for hours, and really very impressed with her. I think we'll be pleased with the people who contribute to our council. Is there further discussion? We will move to a vote. All those in favor of electing Meg Thompson to board of directors, please raise your hand. Well, 19 in favor, all those opposed? None on Zoom? And 19-0, the motion passes. Congratulations, Meg. We hope you're all recovered soon and look forward to working with you. Oh, it's my custom to speak off cuff and from the heart, but for this occasion of our annual meeting, I've prepared an address that I'd like to give to you at this time. Not being a politician, it's not too long, so please bear with me. Since its inception in 1933, our community council has had its ups and downs. Periods of coherence have been followed by dysfunction or even disintegration before sometime later a new form of council has taken shape. That's what happened in 2022 when VMCC was created as a 501c4 nonprofit. And again, after last November's annual meeting, when half of the 6 board members resigned and our council went into hiatus for 7 months. It resumed in July. Since then, we've been rebuilding, bringing it back from the brink, really. Thanks to many volunteers, we've made great progress. Yet, even at its best, local democracy is a messy process, and that's good. In most civics textbooks, democracy is presented as a tidy machine for translating public opinion into law, checks and balances keeping excess and abuse in line. But in the real world, that picture has always been too static. A living democracy isn't a machine that controls complexity. It is complexity, maintaining its own coherence. We've seen that here during the recent government shutdown when SNAP payments were interrupted. Islanders spontaneously came together to meet the emergent need. Organizations and concerned individuals coordinated quickly to prevent hunger from stalking our island, an adaptive response that brought us together. And later tonight, we'll have a panel discussion on food security, part of that same response, to share up-to-date information and further a systematic approach to ensuring that no one on our island goes without food. We're also forming an action-oriented food security committee to institutionalize the effort, and I warmly invite you to sign up, and thanks to those of you who already have. In this and other ways, our world is changing, and we're coming together to constructively adapt. It's part of the joy of living here that we can do this. This is just one illustration of a deeper truth. Across nature and society alike, resilient systems survive not because they suppress change, but because they adapt through it. Think of our ecosystem, countless species in constant flux, yet the forest endures. The same logic applies to democratic life. Debate, disagreement, activism, protest, and procedural friction are not signs of breakdown. They're the self-adjusting motions that keep the whole organism flexible and alive. When a community or a nation grows tense, such disputations are how it learns. Authoritarian systems treat diversity and dissent as noise that must be stifled. Democracy, at its healthiest, treats them as signals, information about who we are and what must evolve next. You might think of this as coherence through variety. The pattern holds not because everyone moves in lockstep, but because our differences teach us how to remain continuously connected, like a murmuration of starlings, each responding to the movements of others while still maintaining its own place in the flock. In human terms, it means building enduring relationships of mutual respect that can survive disagreement and divergence. And this isn't abstract theory, it's visible right here at home. Vashon-Maury Island is a microcosm of this principle. Our island networks, farmers and artists, commuters and volunteers, business people, elders, activists, and youth, everyone form a small but intricate ecosystem of values and voices. Our Vashon-Maury Community Council doesn't stand outside that complexity to manage it. It is part of it. Each meeting, motion, and debate is one of those adaptive pulses through which the island's coherence renews itself. Recognizing democracy as a living, self-organizing system reframes the work ahead for VMCC. Our goal isn't simply order or consensus, it's sustained adaptability, cultivating structures and processes that can listen, learn, and adjust as our community's needs change, as we've done since 1933. The implication is both hopeful and practical. If we treat variety as our lineage rather than a nuisance, the island's self-determination can evolve toward greater resilience. Complex adaptive systems thrive on participation, and in that sense, each citizen's voice, your voice, even when discordant, is not noise in the process, it is the process. Yes, we're stronger together, not because we're the same, but because we are different, each in our own inimitable way. And because, with each of us contributing however we may, we are learning together how to live our democracy, collectively shaping the future in which, as islanders, will belong. We are shaping a future where each of us has a place, where our differences are accepted, and where our community makes room for everyone. It's not just a future that arrives, it's one we create by living it forward step by step, by showing up, speaking up, listening, and taking responsibility for this place we share. So as we move into tonight's discussions into the year ahead, I invite you not just to observe our local democracy, not just be a spectator to the decisions that shape this island, but inhabit it and make it your own. Thank you. Perhaps you can talk to people.
Well spoken.
What are you called? Thank you. Now we'll turn to our panel discussion on island food security. Emily Scott is with us via Zoom. Thank you, Emily. And Merrilee Runyon. Can you please come out, bring Gene Kuhns and Ms. Deborah here? Deborah Gusson will be our moderator for this evening.
I would like to do that here.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, JC. Thank you all for inviting us to have this conversation tonight. Really important and timely. Not new, unfortunately, but I think the spotlight has really highlighted the ongoing challenges of food insecurity in our community. So it's a great opportunity to have a conversation. My name's Deborah Gusson. I actually have been involved in the community council a bit for a while, so it's nice to be here. But I've also been involved in the food bank for a long time. I've been a volunteer. I was board president for a couple of years, and I'm actually an employee now for a while while we're getting ready to build and open and move into our new building. I've taken on a temporary role working with Emily to help get the transition ready and do all the planning and logistics to get us ready to move, which is pretty exciting. So thanks for inviting us, Merrilee.
I'm Merrilee Runyon, and I've been involved with the Vashon Island Growers Association, the Food Access Partnership, for 16 years, I think. We've been going a long time, and we provide VIGA farm bucks. They look like this. It's a homegrown currency. We raise the money, we print the money, and we give it out. It is distributed to all of our island partners, the social service agencies on the island. And also we distribute them at the library Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, and at the farmers market during the summer. When we give them at the library and the farmers market, people get a packet of 15, which is equivalent of $30. And they can be used at any VIGA member farm stand and at the farmers market. Last year, actually this year, it looks like we'll put out about $60,000 into the community for farm bucks. And next year we intend to raise and put out more. At this point, we track them. One thing I want to say that's really important to us is that anybody can ask for farm bucks. There's no sign up, there's no showing you deserve it or need it. If you need it, you ask. So we do track how they're used because there's little codes on the farm bucks, which I've just thrown on the floor. So we know how many come back that are given at the library, how many come back that are given through Youth and Family Services, And that just gives, and we share that with our partner organizations so they know, and we all work together to make this program work. I think that's probably enough for right now.
I'm Gene Kuhns. I serve on the IFCH board, the Interfaith Council for the Prevention of Homelessness on the island. I'm the treasurer there. We have a small board, but do a lot of good on the island. There's probably, well, there's about $150,000 of help that is and assistance that is given out to people on the island over the course of a year. Some of that is rent assistance. Some of that is, you know, if they're truly homeless, they might need some gas money or propane to keep warm during the winter. Hand out gloves and jackets and things like that as well as food vouchers. It's, you know, people get into circumstances where there's a medical issue or there's drug addiction. We'll help them to go to counseling services and things like that, ferry tickets and things. There's a care committee where people that are needing help actually call in, and there's an intake form. So it's not just automatically money out, there's an intake form, and their situation is analyzed, and the care committee all has to vote that yes, they will receive this assistance. And then there's a maximum amount that a individual or family can receive during the year, so it's not abused and people don't become reliant on it. It's truly just a safety net. And I also volunteer at my church as the emergency preparedness specialist at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And there's a lot to do with food security with that. We encourage people to have a year's supply of food and water and fuel if possible. So, you know, encourage food preservation and gardening and things like that as well.
And Emily Scott is also joining us by Zoom. Emily, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, I'm Emily Scott. I'm the executive director of the Vashon Food Bank, which has been operating in either formal or informal ways on Vashon since the late 70s, but as a 501c3 since 1991, I believe. It's been up at its current home on Sunrise Ridge since 1985, so about 40 years now. I've been with the organization for almost, I think, 13 years or so. I came to Vashon in 2013 to work at Pacific Crest Farm and was on the board of VIGA with Merrilee Runyon for the first handful of years I was on the island. I shortly after leaving Pacific Crest became the volunteer program manager at the Vashon Food Bank. Left for a brief stint to go get my master's in public administration from the UW Evans School of Public Policy and Governance, and then right before the pandemic hit, came back as executive director. So it's been a real, you know, it's been a real roller coaster, but also opportunity for adaptation and growth and you know, kind of progressive thinking ever since then. So the food bank these days serves over 300 households per week, or a rather average 300 households per week, which amounts to over 1,900 individuals on an annual basis. And that's around 18% of the island's population, depending on which census data you look at. Interestingly, that's really relative and parallel to other densely populated and more kind of urban communities. You know, I guess the overarching point is that, you know, the need for food assistance, it might look different and the geography is different and access is different on Vashon, but statistically it's really similar. Let's see. Hopefully you all know that we offer weekly free grocery services to anyone who needs them. We've got very low barriers to service. Really just require a name and an address. Not even an address, actually. We do home deliveries to people who live on boats and they don't have addresses. But we just you know, need like duplicated or unduplicated data to show how many people we serve on an annual basis, and that's really the baseline we're looking for. We also, I think some people in the community don't know that the food bank provides Picnics in the Park, the free summer meals program. That's really I think one of the island's most charming, kind of free, youth-oriented programs. And we partner with Vashon Youth and Family Services these days to offer community resource connections through their Oasis program. So, very much our goal of moving to our new facility, which is at the property owned by the Vashon United Methodist Church, is to expand and kind of elaborate on all of those programs that I just outlined. So our hope is that we'll be able to reach more people, make it more accessible, more dignified, more inclusive, and more visible so that more people know it's there as a resource by way of being uptown in a better suited place for kind of humans and food than our current home. So there's a lot there, and I hope to elaborate on it later.
One thing I forgot to mention was IFCH is also the one that provides the meals every night on the island. I forgot to mention that, but it's a volunteers. You can sign up if you want to give a meal. There's people that even sign up just for one week a month or one day a month. And that's a neat service that they provide to other people.
Thanks, Gene.
At the Presbyterian
We did have a
Church,
few
right?
questions.
Gene?
Yes.
Yes. We had a few questions that came in advance, so maybe I'll start with asking those and folks can chime in. One of them, and this is food bank specific, Emily, was what are the food bank's sources of food and how do they ensure adequate quantities of food or can?
Yeah, that is a great question. Okay, so historically, since I've been involved with the food bank, our primary sources are of free food or donated food rather are from the community, and this is not an order of magnitude, but we host food drives at the local grocery stores. There are all kinds of third party operations like the Boy Scouts, all the schools, lots of churches host food drives and bring the food to the food bank. So the local community provides a lot of food. Food Lifeline, which hopefully you all know, is a kind of a regional distributor of food. They do a lot of purchasing, but also partnering with large scale grocery stores and farms to redistribute excess. Historically, we also got about 10% of our free food from Northwest Harvest, which is another one of those regional distributors. Unfortunately, at the end of 2024 last year, we were cut out of the Northwest Harvest Partner Network. And it's hard to tell exactly why they made that decision, but it reads from the reasoning we got that Vashon is too high median income and too low in diversity or too white. Which you'll never find me in a room arguing that an organization like that should not focus on marginalized communities, but Vashon being an isolated and geographically isolated community, I think they kind of didn't use the correct criteria to cut us out of that network. But all that said, so Food Lifeline, Northwest Harvest, we get a significant amount of food historically from the federal government's TFAP program, which is the Emergency Food Assistance Program. That got cut back pretty significantly earlier this year. All that said, we collect on a weekly basis from Thriftway and IGA. So we send trucks over to our local grocery stores in addition to Sandy's or the Burton Mercantile. What's it called now? Yes. Yeah. So we pick up from all the, as many island establishments as we can, and they donate very generously. So that's where the majority of our food comes from. And in addition to that, in the last couple of years, really, since COVID, we have seen a decrease in that free food and the donated food, whether it's from Food Lifeline. Like I said, Northwest Harvest, we don't have access to that anymore. And food we get from TFAP, the federal program, is significantly reduced. So we have pretty dramatically increased our food purchasing, which is why in a lot of media or you all will receive our all island appeal coming up soon. You'll see that we are really trying to churn up financial contributions because let's see, since just this time last year, we've increased our food purchasing by about 30%. And since 2022, during the pandemic, it's increased by 80%. So these days we're purchasing somewhere between $11,000 and $13,000 of food every month, which is a pretty dramatic increase, like I said, over previous. And that's leads right into the secondary part of that question, which is how we provide reliable access. When we see gaps in that donation stream, we're really committed to purchasing to fill those in. So purchasing in bulk and wholesale, because we're serving as many households as we are, might result in a lower variety of food. But that's just a result of not getting, we no longer focus on, the community and getting like, the cans of pumpkin or spinach or tuna out of the back of people's cupboards. And instead, we're purchasing a lot of what would otherwise be sold retail, like market rate food. And this is kind of a trend across the industry. Lots of food banks are doing this in the Seattle area and across the country. So I hope that gets kind of at the question. I could talk for hours.
The question was, what is the best way for the community to support the food bank? You
Yeah.
touched on that, but-
Yeah, it's hard to not talk about all the things at once. I think the best way for the community to support the food bank these days is financial contributions, whether that's a one-time contribution or a regular monthly donation. I know that's the case for all nonprofits because the funding environment is really difficult these days, and especially with federal funding cuts. With the food bank in particular, financial contributions not only help us cover our overhead, but they also help us adapt and respond to those ebbs and flows in the donation streams. And when I say donation streams, I'm not talking about food that the community donates. I mean our major kind of sources of bulk and wholesale food. So with financial contributions, when it's been a couple months since we've gotten frozen beef or ground chicken or, eggs or milk, we can make a purchase that will, serve the 300 households that we serve for at least 1 or 2 weeks. So it allows us to be flexible, adapt to kind of external factors, and, lets us, source information from our customers. We're planning on doing a survey coming up here pretty soon to see what items our customers would prefer that we buy. So it basically allows us to be flexible in a time of really great ambiguity that is right now. So.
But I was having this conversation with my mom last night that, people love to give us peanut butter and tuna and we will never say no. But the food bank can buy a lot more with $7 than my mom can. And, they'll buy a lot more and they can buy lots of quantities, which is what our customers want so that they can shop for themselves with dignity, right?
I'll just to elaborate briefly without, bloviating too much, but we're building out our wholesale relationships. We can purchase through Food Lifeline, but we also purchase through Costco. We buy from a company called Weigelt that has a relationship with Safeway. Our operations manager, Duncan, is constantly looking for more kind of institutional scale wholesale purchasing relationships. So we can, to Deborah's point, we can really stretch each dollar farther than the individual would be able to purchasing retail at a grocery store. So.
I want to turn to folks in the room or on Zoom. Do folks have other questions? I have a couple more, but what questions do other folks have or thoughts?
Thank you. So Vashon tends to have a habit of new and shiny versus looking out and seeing what we already have. And I am curious, from the readings, I have a master's in public administration too. Why, and a nutrition background, why aren't we looking at the vacant buildings within town that already exist? There's 2 by IGA, there's a couple down by across the street from the library. Why aren't we looking at those buildings to move into rather than, excuse me, a whole new space? Just curious. Thank you.
So you mean for the new food bank? Why are we building a new warehouse?
Yes. Thank you.
Warehouse and grocery store. Yeah, that's a great question. And I let's see. So we're about 85-ish% of the way through construction of our new facility. So, not to say that the question is still very relevant and I can talk to the reasoning why, but we're very, very invested in this project. So, it's happening. Um, the idea behind building a new food bank, I mean, at the time, the project has been in evolution for several years now. It took us about 2.5 years to get our permits. So the design and planning of it started in 2023 or so. Um, at that time, we did kind of an assessment of available spaces throughout the community. I don't think there were many vacant spots in the IGA, strip at that point. At one point years ago, we looked at building a new facility behind IGA. We had a farm actually, in the field kind of behind IGA. Turns out that is almost entirely wetland and not buildable. But basically, we landed on, and the investment I think will pay out over the course of, the next 50 years. But building a new food bank in what is basically infill in that corner, the elbow corner behind the sanctuary and the education building on the VUMC property, really set us up for the 50-year ground lease that we have on that property. I mean, the whole impetus of the project is, that we think that people who are coming to, look for assistance with their grocery bills, but also access to other supporting services, deserve a dignified experience, and one that they can rely on long into the future. So, while I think your point is exactly true, there's there's open office spaces and open facilities throughout the community right now. They may not have been there when at the nascent stages of this project, and I think the value added of the new food bank is that it will be sustainable and in good, in livable condition for as long as we can maintain it. Because that's what we think our community and our customers deserve. And I think the community, as evidence to the fact that we're 93% of the way through our capital campaign, so the community agrees, and the fundraising is there, and the support is there.
I would just add, it's not all new. So half of it is an existing building that we purchased from the church.
Mhm.
And the new part is just the warehouse where the foods, Bernie and Jackie were there last week and came for a tour, which is just basically a new warehouse building. It's not fancy, but it's very functional. And it's what it takes to build a building that you put food in. You have to have refrigeration and freezer and AC and all this. So a strip mall isn't going to do it. We would have probably had to spend more than that to rehab something else to make it food friendly. Yes, Debbie.
Hey, my question is not exactly food related, but my understanding is that the Methodist Church is installing or has installed solar, community solar array. And I'm wondering if the food bank will be able to use that.
That's a
Like we
really
have,
great
like
question.
you say, freezers, refrigerators, a lot of electrical needs.
Yeah. That is a great question. So you're correct that the Methodist Church is very progressive minded, not only in their greening of the entire property, but also in their sense of inclusion and just really looking to use that property as a community resource when their congregation was shrinking and lots of the spaces in the buildings were underused. So they started, oh, I don't have these exact dates, but they started solar panel installation before the food bank moved there. And are every time I don't know if you know who Eric Walker is. He's like kind of a lead in leadership on the church council. Every time I run into him anywhere in town, he's like, "So when are you going to apply for that solar grant?" So there right now there are solar panels on the education building, which the food bank currently owns. Like Deborah mentioned, we bought it earlier this year. We're doing light renovations on that building, but it's actually very sound to the point. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name of who asked the question about why we're not, repurposing an existing building.
Debbie Jackson.
Debbie Jackson, yeah, thank you for asking that. To Deborah's point, we very much are. So that education building, we're doing some light renovations inside and upgrading the bathrooms to be ADA accessible and to kind of, to King County code standards. And we've rented the roof space to the church for like, I don't know, $0 or $1 every 100 years or something very nominal like that. They've got solar panels on the education building and on the roof of the pastors, the parsonage that's in the back, kind of the far back corner. All of those solar panels rather feed into a battery that feeds the sanctuary building. So it can act as a kind of a resiliency hub in the case of inclement weather or like an island, kind of a larger power outage. And we've talked a lot about it's not part of our current permit process, but I think the funding is there for us to install solar panels on the new food bank building as well. That would feed into the food bank building. The current solar panels are not feeding buildings that the food bank owns, but that's very much in our scope of interest as well. I'm not sure that the power that solar panels would accrue or kind of I'm not getting the right language here, but I'm not sure they would ever be able to back up our like freezers and refrigerators because those compressors and mechanics are pretty bulky. But they would be able to keep the lights on and, keep our computers running and, keep the heat on probably. So yeah, we're not doing it right now because we've got a couple other, hoops to jump through, but it's very much front of mind, I'd say.
Happy Austin. A few thoughts and
I cannot quite hear.
Kathy Ostrom.
Oh, hello, Kathy.
Hi. Do you get help from grannies?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, because you didn't mention, so I thought you probably did.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sorry if
yeah.
I thought the question earlier was where we get food from, not funding. We get funding from a lot of other organizations, but we don't get
Okay.
from grannies. Yeah.
So not necessarily, I was wondering where that free food comes every Tuesday. Is that related to I don't know where it comes from and,
yeah, the food on the highway
Answer that.
across from Kathy's corner.
So actually, you've been handing out this sheet that says Vashon Island Food and Meal Resources, and the food on the highway is from an organization called One in Spirit Ministries. And they collect the food. They don't, they're part of a community-wide meeting that Shauna Ahern organized, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where every organization that is involved in food access came and talked about what they did. And Mike was there from their organization. They don't disclose where the food comes from. That's not a terrible secret. That's just the way they do it. And they provide that food on Tuesdays. So, yeah.
Merrilee, would you elaborate a bit on the handouts and where people who are on Zoom or other people can get copies of them, please?
Absolutely. So one of the things I brought was the list that was created out of that first meeting called Vashon Island Food and Meal Resources. It lists every organization on the island. And it was a remarkable meeting. I wish Shauna were here because she could say more about it. She organized it, but it was remarkable to see a relatively small community, the significant number of groups that provide access to food on Vashon. So you can see, I think this is a useful resource. If you want a copy of it, maybe there's a way you can send an email to the community council and I'll give JC the copy of it and he can email it out to you. That's probably the simplest thing. The other thing that you might have just received is a map of VIGA farm stands with the ones that are open year round. They have like a dark dot next to them, but they're not too many, but Aggies, Forest Garden, Littlest Bird, Plum Forest, Provo Farm, Venison Valley, and Stella Maris are open year round. And the reason we made this is that when we give people farm bucks, we like to help them know where they can go. And we don't want them to waste their time or their gas money going to places that are closed. And it leads into something that I should have said when I was first talking, is that the farmers get paid 100% for the food that are purchased with farm bucks, because our program, and I want to shout out to Bernie O'Malley because he gave us our tagline, which is Island Farmers Feeding Island Neighbors. And that's what we do. And it's been a way to help people understand how it works, but it's really important for us to support island farms because farming on Vashon is really difficult. It's expensive. And we believe that everybody on the island should have access to the really healthy food that is grown here. So that's why we do this. And that's how island farmers can feed the whole community. So if you want the map, please feel free to take it. If you don't, fine, leave it on the chair and I'll pick them up and I'll put them someplace else to be given out. Yes, JC?
I have a question for you, Gene. You're not new to this. Back when that at a food security group well over 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And I wonder if you could just recap some of the things you've done over the years to promote food security here on our island.
Sure. Yeah, we had a food security working group a while back. That was a long time ago. Thanks for the good memories. We did some classes here on island. We would invite people to attend gardening classes, how to raise chickens. It was really well attended, a lot of the classes that we had. I did a couple classes at our church of how to process a deer. I also have a Facebook group that's it's a deer recovery group. If someone hits a deer or you see a deer hit, you can post it on this Facebook group, and people that want to gather, there's usually a little part that's damaged, but there's a whole lot that's good and it's just going to go to waste. And yeah, so we've it's a lot of classes that we've done. We did one that was videotaped, and that I know was sold and or given out.
As I recall, we put on a food preservation fair too.
Yeah, that was a very well attended over the course of 2 days. It was a food preservation fair, and my wife and I taught how to hot water bath can and also how to pressure can, and so that was fun. We invite friends over to our house just on a personal level of people that want to learn how to can and things like that, and get we have a food dehydrator, we have a freeze dryer, and teach people how to preserve food. One question I had, and maybe open it up for the group, is there any organization that does gleaning on the island? It drives me crazy that I drive by on the highway and I see an apple tree with all the apples just falling on the ground. Is there anybody that does that?
I wonder, Merrilee, if we can maybe bounce back and forth about the VIGA and food bank collaborations about gleaning over the years, maybe?
You want to go first? Or you want me to?
How about you go? And then, yeah, you go.
Okay. For several years, we in VIGA, the Growers Association and the Food Bank, partnered with Rotary and got a grant to have a gleaning operation. And it was great. We had a coordinator who got volunteers to glean and taught them how to do it, because particularly farmers, but most gardeners don't want people just kind of tromping through their fields. They want people who know how to do it and can do it easily and well. What we had, I think it was reasonably that food. I know we gleaned kale pretty frequently in the wintertime. The fruit is harder. The apples on the ground generally aren't used for, they're used for animal feed, but and we have had difficulty getting safely climb trees. That's a little trickier. But when we lost the funding, we lost the program, because it really takes some stay in touch with volunteers, help them learn how to do it. And then the thing is, when a farmer is ready to have you glean, it's like it's not something you can plan in advance. So you just need a person, and we have not found a funding source that continues over time. So it's one of those things that we kind of get started, stop. I got to say, Seattle has a fabulous program called City Trees, and they do a wonderful job of gleaning fruit trees in the city. picking the fruit. And it would be a dream for all of us if we could figure out how to do that, because there is an enormous amount of fruit on the island that goes to waste. We could get it before it hit the ground.
Although I will say, Merrilee, a lot of our farmers bring their own food in and donate it to the food bank.
That's
which is
right.
Wonderful. They sort of do their own.
We brought you, I
Which is
think, about
amazing.
50 pounds of pears this year, right?
So I think to both of those points, even outside of the Rotary, like the VIGA Food Bank collaboration, we got some WSDA funding through their resiliency program for a couple summers. We had a gleaning coordinator. Again, we're trying to like pay people for the labor that, or at least, the coordinating labor. Vashon has no shortage of enthusiastic volunteers, but to have, like, to Merrilee's point, to have a reliable person who's coordinating between all the farmers with all the trees and all the vegetable crops, it's really a skill set that deserves to be paid. So finding a funding source is critical. That WSDA resiliency money also dried up a couple years ago. And I think it's the fruit tree thing on Vashon, it's really an economy of scale issue. There are more fruit trees on this island, I think, than can, okay, let me take a step back. We just did a tour with and had a good conversation with the good Viga and Mukai folks who are working on the barreling plant. I think there's opportunity there for there to be larger scale processing that could become, something that approximates like the old wax orchard, production facility. But in the meantime, honestly, the food bank cannot absorb all the stone fruit or apples that this island has to offer. We just cannot. We actually have to lovingly turn people away when they say like, my apple just came to abundance, and there's only so many people that can take so many apples on the island. But
yet if we had a facility somehow that could process those apples into applesauce, we could keep them throughout the year. Or if we dehydrated them, instead of our kids eating chips at school, they could have dehydrated apples or freeze-dried apple chips. It'd be a different way.
Well, that reminds me that VIGA has a preservation equipment library, and you can borrow food dehydrators and a freeze dryer. And we have done that to lots and lots of apples and pears and given them out. But you're right, the abundance outstrips our capacity to use it all really well. Especially this year, it was quite the apple pear year.
The island is a really good host to fruit trees, and there's not enough housing to match the fruit tree abundance. So.
Are there other questions in the room? Yes.
So the tool library also has a dehydrator and a couple cider presses to borrow for, if you remember.
That's good to know.
For a week at a time. And I'll also mention the sort of gleaning activities that Vashon did with the food bank back in the pre-COVID era when we did our waste to garden research experiment. And we experimented with all these different compost and biochar additives to the soil, and grew a lot of onions and carrots and greens, and it was all donated to the food bank, potatoes, and the food bank got it all. And I don't know how many hundreds of pounds that summer, two or three summers. It was a 3-year running program. So we're not doing that now, but these research projects are a great way to grow a lot of food and get science done at the same time.
Absolutely.
Thank you. There was one question, Emily, that came in advance, given that almost 1 in 5 folks on the island depend on the food bank at one time or another, or SNAP, which has been, as we all know, kind of dicey lately. There was a question about folks being worried that when the food bank moves, how are we going to make sure that people still get food while we're in the moving process?
Yeah. Which is a great question. And I'm happy to say part of the reason that we coaxed Brenda off the board and become a staff member. She's currently our interim deputy director, is because she has a lot of experience with and a super skill set in, walking kind of processes back and forward. So we're very deep in the transition planning process right now. There's a lot of different ways it could look, but I will say that we're very committed to maintaining services throughout the transition. That said, there will be probably moments when there's either limited variety or different kind of access. For example, we have already got the muscle memory to do home deliveries and curbside service. So even folks who want to come shop in person, have them fill out a menu and then it's packed by people inside. I feel like those kind of systems that we established during COVID, I think will come in very handy during our transition because while there will be a point, I am pretty sure we'll have two facilities as we're moving out of one and moving into the other, where it could be kind of a mess in there, but that would be easier for, we could have volunteers packing bags for people either for curbside delivery or for home delivery. So if anything, there might be a week or two where we don't bring people into the food bank while we're in transition, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to continue to offer people home delivery services and in-person service, whether it's like curbside offerings or something else. And that really, again, is kind of a function of our adaptability that we learned during the pandemic. And Deborah, knowing that, I feel like I should, pass the mic back to you. No, Deborah's thinking a lot about these things too, like I just said.
Well, I mean, I think we take our responsibility really seriously. So
Mhm.
we're all working as hard as we can up to that so that we have the least amount of disruption to services to our customers, because that's why we're there. So we're going to try our best for sure. Any other questions, either from Nicole? I can't see the screen if folks are raising hand or anybody. The question. Oh, thanks.
Okay, sorry, one last question. So remind me if the Beachcomber article said the new food bank facility is like a $7 million project. And if I got the figures wrong, please correct me. So with that money, how much of it goes directly back into the food program for our residents or long-time planning, considering we're living in a Trump era that has so much uncertainty about continued funding? Thank you.
That's a great question as well. And thank you for it's very front of mind, I think, for all of us in leadership at the food bank. The fact that we're nearing the end of construction of the new food bank and of the capital campaign to fundraise for it, at the same time that we are processing our regular annual appeals and general operating fundraising. And at the same time that there is a nationwide emergency food disaster going on. We did not plan all these things to happen at once, obviously. That 7.25 actually million overall campaign goal, that encompasses all of the hard costs of building the new food bank, the new facility, also of purchasing the education building that Deborah mentioned earlier. It also encompasses all the soft costs, the design and planning. So that's all the way back to 2020 since we've been kind of working on the project. And it encompasses all of our internal staffing and campaign costs for the project. So we've been very cognizant of keeping this, building the new food bank as a distinct funding source. We've actually got separate bank accounts, separate, budgets for each, like general operating and the capital campaign. So we're very much aware of, not robbing Peter to pay Paul, as they say. So we manage our general operating funds entirely separate from our capital funds. Our general operating budget is somewhere around $730,000 to $750,000 a year. And that's still very stable at this point. So we've managed to, as Deborah actually has introduced me to the phrase of what chewing gum and walking as well or something. I don't know. So we've managed to do both because the community has been very supportive of both endeavors. So we're also very aware of, other, situations on the island and in other communities where, a capital campaign or like building a new facility leaves you in a position lacking funds for overhead and operating costs. We are very aware of that and are kind of constantly managing both of those funds to avoid that situation. So, without going into too much detail about, how we balance those funds, just, all that to say we absolutely intend to maintain and improve on, service delivery of our current programs. And we need to finish this building and get to a new home because the fact is our current facility, while it's very charming and very Vashon and has a beautiful view of Mount Rainier and this cell phone tower that has an osprey nest on top, it does not meet our standards for accessibility, safety, dignity, or sorry, those are really the primary three. It's basically deteriorating into the ground and is not going to get any better. So we're at a point when sustainability for the entire organization and food security for the island is the driving force behind this new facility. And we have just seen the generosity from the community and the federal, state, county government, in addition to ample funding from private granting institutions to make it happen. So.
I would say Emily's done an amazing job because they're beating the bushes to find money everywhere, like all over the place, to bring to Vashon to help us do this for the community, which is phenomenal. Because I think, to your point, nothing tells us that this is going to become less of a problem. In fact, we think we're going to need to be able to serve more people over the long haul. So we really need a safe place to be able to do that for many years to come.
Mm-hmm. And I will just one kind of extra, talking point. In addition to managing separate funds for the two, general operating and the capital campaign, a large majority of the funding we've gotten for the campaign from those government sources I just listed and private foundations, we did not have to make a choice between operating funds or capital funds. A large majority of that funding is only for capital and infrastructure projects. So all that to say, we didn't have to decide which one was more important. The funding is available, and we were just able to take advantage of it for both operating and for capital.
One quick thing to say, that capital money is always much easier to get rather than operational money. I mean, I've been involved with a lot of organizations, and that to be true. But what I did want to say is that benefit of that capital campaign can be amortized over 30 years. And so the actual expenditure over 30 years is very much reduced.
Yeah.
And you don't amortize the money, you amortize the benefit from that.
Yeah.
I think it is a long-term asset for the whole community. Exactly. I think what Emily and the team has done is really amazing. And I really would. I mean, Emily's been doing tours with folks, and if people would like to come out and get a tour, but soon, probably in the first quarter of the year, we'll be doing some groundbreaking, open houses, some welcoming opening events, and would really love people to come visit because it is really a community asset, and we really welcome people to come visit and join us and our community partners and everybody who's working on food security.
I did just want to amplify a little bit about the co-location of the new building, the education building, and the church. We've been working with King County on their strategic climate action plan. We were able to introduce the work done at the church to the executive climate office. They were looking for pilot programs for resilience hubs. They talked about facilities in Seattle, but such and such is like 3 blocks down the road, and they're not all in the same place. We were able to say on Vashon, they are all in the same place. If you're looking for some place that has the infrastructure, plus the batteries, the solar panels, the heat pumps, etc., to actually move from the infrastructure level to the operational level, meaning how do we actually open the doors, bring people in, make everything safe, et cetera. They have now identified the Vashon Island and Shorewood, 2 locations, as resilience hub pilot programs in the 5-year strategic climate action plan. So it may be a very small thing relative to the options, but I did want to at least mention that that was something that seemed important in this concept of creating a resilient community and a resilience hub.
It is actually really exciting. We've already got partners there. WIC is there. AA has regular meetings there.
Right.
Vashon Youth and Family Services there. We have the Oasis program there, as Emily said. And we're excited that it's an opportunity for us to have other community partners join us so that folks who need things have them all in one place and we can all work together and partner to serve our neighbors. So it's very exciting.
We've only got a couple of minutes
Okay,
left,
thanks, Jason.
but Merrilee, do you think you could, in a couple of minutes, mention some of the other organizations that have come to light recently, including the Facebook group and Senior Center and St.
Sure.
Vincent de Paul's?
They're, again, you can find them on this list. But something I learned about that I didn't know about was a Facebook group. I don't know if they're here actually. Foods for Friends is on Facebook, and it started just an informal thing. I've got apples. I've made 6 gallons of soup, and people go, okay, I'll take it. And they just exchange the food. And those of us working on building more neighbor to neighbor support around food security, see things like that as neighborhood things that can just work without a lot of organization and bureaucracy and so forth. They just, people just work together. The Senior Center offers lunches 3 days a week, and they deliver lunches to a number of folks who can't get out. These are beautiful, delicious, hot lunches, and there's a suggested that nobody is turned away. I was really struck by the grocery stores who offer all kinds of support to people who are in need of food. The IGA has fills bags of food, and they're up there on the shelf. People think that they take one. They also know that there are folks in the community who just need money sometimes, so you can get money. Actually keep envelopes of cash, and they just give it to people who they know need it. At Thriftway, every time you shop, you can ask them to put $5, $10, I think, or $15 onto your bill, which would go to the food bank. They also have food cards that you can give out. IFCH actually gives them out to people. I don't know if you know about Backpack Pantry, but it's a group of people who fill backpacks for children. They're given out on Fridays. It's perishable food that can go over the weekend. Lots of children need food. They count on the schools and when the weekend comes. And something I'm really interested in is that middle school and high school kids, the backpack is kind of, shows up. And so we want to buy food cards for kids, credit vouchers that they can take to Thriftway and IGA and buy. The high school has a food pantry actually with food there that kids can take. And it's striking the number of kids who take advantage of that. I think the free and reduced price lunch population in our schools is about 25%. And you can read this and find out the rest of them. The thing I would say to all of us is that one of the biggest jobs we have is helping our neighbors understand that there really is food insecurity on Vashon Island. People may not see it. They think, oh, it's a really good community. And there is that. But there are many people who don't have secure access to healthy food and depend on food banks and all of these other programs to neighbor. And one thing we could do is food security. I understand this and understand where their money can be the best. I feel if I can help you.
Just to your point, I want to say thanks to all the people who are wealthy on Vashon who apparently contribute a ton of money to a lot of good causes. If they had to rely on me, I don't go to auctions and stuff except to help serve. But I'm always impressed with just the school foundation just had an amazing fundraiser. So I think we're really lucky that there are wealthy people on Vashon and just average people too, but a lot of donating is really impressive. So very generous.
Thank you very much. We have some more business.
I just mentioned one thing. 3 things really quick. When you're thinking about putting in landscaping at your house, think about a fruit book or a fruit tree instead of just flowering thing, something that you can eat. Second thing is there's a lot of things you can wild forage on the island. The Native Americans lived off the island. You can eat a lot of stuff out there. We did a foraging group for a couple of years as well. Last thing, honeybees. I can't leave without talking about honeybees. I'm a beekeeper. The pesticides we use on this island poison the bees, and they make them sick. And bees forage, they'll go up to 5 miles foraging. There is not one place on this island that isn't impacted by 4 or 5 different hives. If you just have pesticides there, you're impacting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hives around you. So please don't use them. Thanks.
Thank you all so much. Mention too that this coming Saturday at 3:00 p.m. at Women Hold the Key, which is on Gorsuch Road and the highway, there will be another meeting of the islanders who've been coming together to make a collective response to this food insecurity situation. And Shauna Ahern has been vocalizing that, and I encourage you all to go if you'd like to learn more about these topics and what you might do to make more of a contribution. Also, as I mentioned before, we've got a sign-up sheet in the back for Food Security Committee we hope to form here at VMCC as an effort to institutionalize these efforts beyond the immediate crisis to promote systemic food security going into the future. Thank you all for your interest in what we do about this. Thank you, Emily. Oh my gosh. Deborah, did you take my agenda? I know that we next have new business and Truman O'Brien. Thank you. No, this is yours. Truman, would you please come up and make your presentation?
My name is Truman O'Brien. I'm a commissioner for the King County Airport District #1, which owns and operates the Vashon Municipal Airport. And what I'm here for this evening is I submitted a formal formal motion and a resolution. And just to make it a little quicker, JC suggested that I summarize both of those. So in summarizing the motion is to adopt a resolution that's supporting the establishment of the Vashon Island Disaster Airlift Response Team, the acronym VIDART. VIDART is established as an organization of volunteer private pilots and ground crews who, using their personal aircraft, provide rapid critical logistical support, including light cargo, ambulatory medical evacuations, damage assessment flights, and personnel transport to and from the island in the event of a major disaster, which compromises our ferry service. So be it moved that the Vashon-Maury Community Council formally adopt the attached resolution titled Resolution to Support the Vashon Island Disaster Airlift Response Team, thereby declaring to support the establishment, integration, and community recognition of this vital disaster preparedness asset. The resolution itself says that the Vashon-Maury Community Council hereby resolves to formally support the immediate establishment and ongoing development of the Vashon Island Disaster Airlift Response Team, as a designated auxiliary component of the island's overall disaster response plan. The VMCC calls upon the following entities to recognize and to appropriate actively support VIDART. That's number one would be the Vashon Island Fire and Rescue and the Emergency Operations Center. Number two is the King County Emergency Management. And number three is the Vashon community as a whole. And I will have to, that's a summary of the resolution. But I will have to tell you that we have absolutely the full support of the Vashon Island Fire and Rescue, the EOC and CERT. They're all very actively supporting us. And if we get this thing fully established, we're going to be the third DART program following Clallam County and Walla Walla County. So it's a big deal. We're going to be a little bit different than those two organizations. In particular, we went up and followed an exercise that the Clallam County group did. And in theirs, they collect, in that particular one, they collected food that was going to be distributed around the Strait of Juan de Fuca out toward the Point No Point in that area. Anyway, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the opposite. We're going to be bringing stuff into here. So we're going to have agreements with CERT programs in Bellingham, or excuse me, Bremerton, Tacoma, Puyallup, and those places. So anyway, a little bit different. Anyway, I'm here to answer any questions if you might have. So we have one helicopter, a little two-place helicopter. But the one thing that we found that I think is really important is the disaster assessment or damage assessment. As you know, probably know, CERT has got all of these routes laid out around the island, and they have teams that will follow these routes to report back. We can get in the air and within an hour or less have a complete survey of the island. In fact, within the first 10 minutes, if there are any fires, we'll see those. But we have also areas that we want to look at for earthquake, landslide damage and bridges and that sort of thing.
How does this compare to what we did after Y2K and 9/11? I thought there was an organization set up at that time. There were trees trimmed. The airport was, sorry. How does this compare to what we did in 9/11 on Vashon at the airport, preparing us for disasters, but also in response to the 9/11 program? The airport was got some funding to clear trees, et cetera, et cetera. So I know a young fellow, you might not remember this, but here we go.
Right. Thank you for that. One of the things that DART does is that we have an organization. This is a manual that lays out everything that the organization can do. We're going to have drills so that we'll actually have people coming out with their airplanes, moving, people and supplies in an exercise. Very, very highly organized, which I think that other effort was not quite to the extent this is. That's ongoing, by the way, though. We now have covenants on both ends of the runway for we're able to clear trees, and we didn't have that before. So that's a function of that. Yeah. And no, maybe, yes.
On planes to take
We have that
pictures of things?
Sure.
Okay.
I have to tell you that that's one of the things I was trained for when I was in Vietnam. And so I was an aerial observer and photographer. That was one of my jobs, a number of other jobs, but that was one of them.
As a King County airport, I believe. Do you have any funding from King County or who?
Oh, no. Oh, don't get me started. I could speak for an hour or more about King County. No, we are not funded by anybody but us. All right, I'll give you a very, very short, I know we're time sensitive here, but I'll give you a very short rundown of the way the airport works. King County Airport District number 1 owns the property. And all of the hangars, there are 44 hangars on the airport. Those are owned by individual pilots. And about in 1957, somewhere in there anyway, they formed an association called Vashon Air Service. and that's an association of all of the hangar owners. They pay the King County Airport District rent to rent the property. It's a lease agreement. And that money is what supports all of the safety issues that we have around the airport. And the King County Airport District is responsible for the liaison with the FAA and safety. Vashon Air Service actually maintains the airport. So it's kind of complicated, but convoluted, but that's how it works. Any other questions? So anyway, I would like you to please consider this motion and the resolution. Your support and the community support is very, very important for us going forward. Thank you, JT.
Thank you so much, Truman. Really appreciate your work on this. Yeah. So Truman has read this into the minutes. So this is the first meeting. We will not be having a council meeting in December. We're skipping for the holidays. Our next council meeting will be on January 15th. So that at that next meeting, this matter of VIDART will come up for further consideration and a possible vote on adoption. Yes. Yeah.
Point of order.
Let's, Diane.
Yes, typically in this situation, the motion is moved and seconded at this meeting and then gets voted on at the next meeting.
Great. Thank you all for the clarification. I really appreciate how we're all keeping this on the straight and narrow. Is there a motion to adopt the VIDART? Kathy Ostrom, is there a second? Yeah, Jackie O'Malley. Yes. Thank you. Thank you all. So it is before us now, and we'll further consider it at the January 15th meeting. Thank you. And we'll be sending out the resolution with the agenda. At this point, we have just 5 minutes left for community input and questions and announcements. However, I would say that if you have new business, it will help a lot if you bring it to our attention beforehand, and then we can put it on the agenda and endeavor to make time for it. Jen, I know you have an announcement.
I do. I have an announcement. Kevin Jones will be interviewing, unless you want to make it, we'll be interviewing Mike Rakovic and I, my husband and I, at 11 o'clock on Tuesday on Voice of Vashon. And the topic for discussion will be quality of water in Quartermaster Harbor and Tramp Harbor, and also discussing portage. So to start it off with a conversation, and we will be inviting community members to participate in kind of constructing options, community input for what Vashon Islanders want for those spaces.
Time again?
11 o'clock on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock on Tuesday on the Brown Briefly. That the Brown Briefly is. Sorry, I'm wearing another hat. With this one, I'm on the board of Voice of Vashon also. But there's also a podcast that, so any place you get your podcast, you will be able to get the Brown Briefly. So there you go.
Are there other announcements? Yes, Steve.
So Zero Waste Vashon has reinvigorated the Vashon Dish Library. It's the old No Trash Bash Dash that Karen Biondo and others started about 30 years ago. And Abby Antonellis was the last reincarnation of it at her farm. And VIGA was involved with that. And then it sort of went dormant for a little while. And now Zero Waste has brought it back to life. Megan Satura is our leader, who is a volunteer. We have volunteer librarians. We have everything online. If you go to zerowastevashon.org, you can see pictures of all the dishes. So in tying in with the topic today, it's not the food that you're eating, but the stuff underneath the food that you need to eat with. It's free, and you can borrow the stuff for a week. We have plates, utensils, tablecloths for events. anybody can do it. You don't have to be a nonprofit or anything. We welcome you. It's all housed at the shed behind the Episcopal Church. Thanks to them for hosting it. And we need volunteer librarians. So if you want to help out, we welcome your participation. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Steve. Are there further announcements? Are there announcements on Zoom? Seeing no sign of any more announcements, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Surely. Oh, Debbie Jackson, is there a second? Steve Bergman. Is there any discussion? We should adjourn. Seeing none, we'll move to immediate vote. All those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. I can tell at a glance that that is a majority. Thank you all very much. Meeting is concluded.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah. No, I'm pretty excited.